Hello again, this is Dr. Jimmy. It's still Sunday the 8th of July. I'm still lurking in the shadows, and this is the second of, I hope, 3 videos I intend to make for you today, catching up on all the recent information that's come pouring out from all the various, well, from at least a couple of the various Universal parks about upcoming horror nights this year. I just did a video which you might have watched, which ran too long, sorry, and it was all about the Slaughter Cinema announcement from 3 weeks ago. This video will cover the revelations for Halloween Horror Nights 28 here in Orlando that were made week before last. The last week of June, and what were revealed that week were the 2 remaining scare zones. They had said there were going to be 5 scare zones, and they gave us 3 before. The 3 original scare zones: the Harvest, which is rumored to be right up in the front of the park, Plaza of the Stars area. Although again, I can't confirm that, but that's what people are saying. And Twisted Traditions, which is officially said to be in Central Park, so we know where that one is absolutely, and Vamp 85 New Year's Eve, probably in the New York Street area, according to the common wisdom and what people have been saying. But again, not yet, as far as I know, officially confirmed, unless I missed something. I might have. Speaking of which, sometimes I say something wrong, usually it's a slip of the tongue, and I have followers, some of whom are quite anal. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and might have pointed out some comments already that in the previous video I said at the beginning, this is not the 25th video for Halloween Horror Nights 25's history. Of course it isn't. The next one to be made is the 12th. I've only made 11 videos in the history of Halloween Horror Nights 25, and I hope I don't have to get to 25 videos. Oh, I am long-winded, but I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I get it done in less than that. So, number 12 is the video that I will make, hopefully, while we're all still alive. And, oh, look, I brought it with me this time. Oh, keep the throat going. So, this one is about the announcement that was made week before last, and hopefully the video will not go over 40 minutes like the last one. And this is on the 2 scare zones that were announced, and they are both intellectual property scare zones. So we have 2 original houses, 2 IP houses, maybe more, 6 more houses coming, but all the scare zones we know it's a 3-and-2 ratio, 3 original zones and 2 IPs. And the first IP, rumored to be in Hollywood Boulevard, and some people are saying they've confirmed this, maybe, is called The Revenge of Chucky. You remember Chucky? Here he is, nice little man, like a little boy doll, good guy doll, kind of has gone through the ringer a few times. This is the Funko that was a Hot Topic exclusive, the Bride of Chucky version of Chucky, with all the scars. Way over there on the shelf, and I'm not going to get it, was the original Chucky they made from Funko, which is called Child's Play 2 Chucky. And the reason is Universal controls Child's Play 2 and every other Chucky movie since then. The first one was released by MGM, and I'll get to that in a minute. So apparently Funko had a deal with Universal to make Chucky Pops, but not MGM, and so they didn't just have Child's Play on the box, they put Child's Play 2, knowing it would get around that problem. Here he is. Nice little guy. So, Chucky's been at Horror Nights many times. In fact, he made his first sort of cameo in the form of a doll held by little Eddie Munster as a character running around the streets and sometimes on the stage doing main stage madness at Fright Nights in 1991, instead of the Woof Woof doll you normally see Eddie Munster with on telly. He then popped up in California the very next year at the second ever Horror Nights in Hollywood, which was in 1992. Was the first time he did the insult thing, which was called In Your Face Insults. Then later over the years he popped up again when they started that back up, I think 96 through 2000, and then started again 2006 to the current day. Exactly which years he was there I'm not certain of. I haven't researched Hollywood as heavily as Orlando, but he was there quite a bit in the Insult Emporium, they called it that by then. But somebody complained a few years ago and they stopped doing that, or they stuck him into a haunted house in the same insult thing as a bit of a gag a couple years after that. He's had scare zones in Hollywood. He took over the Terror Tram recently. He's done that more than once actually. And of course in Orlando he came back in 1998 with Tiffany and got married on the main stage. Also showed up in as the Grand Marshal of the Festival of the Dead parade that year, and then finally got his own house in Orlando in the year 2009. I don't think he's ever had his own house since, but he's popped up in scare zones. The very next year he was in the scare zone in 2010, and then he showed up in was it 2015, the All Night Die-In double feature. Chucky and Tiffany were strolling around that scare zone on one of the casts, the modern cast as opposed to the classic cast, the black and white cast. He was in the color modern movie cast, and that might have been the last time he was there. He was also in 2014, made a cameo in Dollhouse of the Damned, but not as a scare actor, just as a doll. But Chucky's been around a few times, and he's been in Japan more recently. He's had haunted houses in Japan for the past several years, at least 4 years, maybe longer. They did the 3 horror factories, and then they did the Curse of Chucky House. I think that was last year, so Cult of Chucky House last year. So he's been around quite a bit. Chucky's a mainstay, and part of the reason Chucky gets used a lot is Universal controls Chucky, at least they did, but he started out in 1988 in a movie called Child's Play. Wonderful movie. I'm not going to go in detail what was in the movie, but it brought Chucky to life. You know, Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif, and Damballa, which is actually a benevolent, wise Loa, or Loa, in voodoo, but is often in horror movies seen as an evil serpent death god, but he's really not a bad guy at all, really. He's sort of a god of wisdom and healing more in voodoo than if you can even call it a god, because it's not exactly the same as the Christian concept of a god. It's more like a very powerful spirit that kind of hangs out with you and maybe possesses you and wants to use you to get around a bit. I've talked about that in previous videos, the whole riding your horse thing. But Damballa, though, was the person evoked to turn him into a doll. Because voodoo and dolls, right? That's it. Although it's not exactly accurate, but that's what they... So that was all introduced in the first movie. Little Andy Barclay, who wanted to take his body so he can be a real boy like Pinocchio. Right? Great movie. And it was released by MGM. But then, a sequel came out, Child's Play 2, in 1990, 2 years later. And this time it was released by Universal. And Universal then continued to release all the successive movies. Don Mancini got a good contract with them, and so Chucky's become a Universal icon, even though the first one was actually released by MGM. So, Child's Play 2, that was the one where he went back after Andy again. and then it showed up the very next year in another sequel, 1991, the film called Child's Play 3. And this they jumped years into, from a little boy to a teenager and a military school, of all things. And there was some great scenes in that with where Chucky's going to possess a little African American boy because he's going to be a soul brother now. He's going to go black and not look back, basically trying to get him. And Andy's teenager wants to stop him, and it ends up in an abandoned amusement park ride. And my God, there's never been a regular seedy little amusement park with a ride as good as this, but it's still quite spectacular. Wonderful movie. And then after that, there weren't any for a while. In 1998, though, they brought it back and they got a bit more camp. It was always a bit camp to begin with, but they got more camp in 98 with Bride of Chucky, and that introduced Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany. And the whole thing, Chucky got lucky, haha. And the two of them together, that was lots of fun. Again, not going to spend too much time talking about it. Then, after that, it was 2004 when they made another one, and this one was even more camp, and had Britney Spears getting killed by Chucky, at least a look-alike, and John Waters shows up, and the whole thing is... it's called Seed of Chucky, and Chucky Tiffany have a baby who's sort of gender ambiguous, and he's not sure if he's male or female or neither. He's Glenn or is he Glenda? And that character has vanished away from the Chucky franchise because they have never brought him back. But they redid the Chucky franchise after many years, 2013, with Curse of Chucky, which I believe was directly released to video in the United States but had theatrical releases. That one was made into a scare zone in Hollywood. Interestingly enough, Curse of Chucky. There was stuff in a mental institution, and I haven't actually seen it. But I understand they're going back more to the roots and less of the camp stuff. Although Tiffany came back, but Glenn did not. We don't know what's happened to him. And most recently, last year, Cult of Chucky. And so, Chucky's still around. I understand he must have got a facelift or something. He had some work done because all of this stuff that he had in Bride and Seed is gone now, and he looks more, pretty than he was in a few years. And that's the most recent Chucky film. So how many is that? 7? There's Child's Play 2, 3, Bride, Seed, Curse, Cult, yeah. But that's not the end of it, because they're making a reboot. Child's Play, just Child's Play. It's going to reboot the original. Well, who's doing that? Not Universal, it's MGM. They found a loophole because they still have the rights to the first movie. They can remake that movie. Even though Don Mancini probably won't be involved. They may not even get Brad Dourif to do the voice, and they'll update it and change shit around. I heard something about they're going to have a whole bunch of kids, so it's like It or Stranger Things. Because nothing succeeds like imitating someone else's success, right? And apparently they're going to have the most incredible animatronic Chucky. So lifelike, I don't know. But that's what they're saying. It's what they're hyping. And I don't know if Brad Dourif will actually do the voice or get someone else. Because Dourif's still involved with Mancini and Universal right now. They're making a Chucky television series. I don't know if it's going to be on Netflix or HBO or what channel it's going to be on, FX or something. I have no idea. If it's Universal, it's probably going to be on the Sci-Fi channel, because they control that. But they also control Chiller. I'd hope it might be there. Who knows where it's going to be. So that's interesting. And apparently Brad Dourif's on board. And it's going to follow the continuity from the movies, the original franchise, and apparently 8 episodes. When is this coming out? I have no idea. And that means, of course, it might go into turnaround. Something may go wrong, because that happens. They announce a project and sometimes doesn't turn out the way they want to, or it has to be cancelled, or maybe it changes. So right now they're planning an 8-episode Chucky series at some point, and other people are making a Chucky remake reboot. So do not expect this to be Chucky's last time at the rodeo. However, we may have competing Halloween Chuckies in the future. One of the reasons we might not have gotten it this year, that's what it seems like, is Warner Brothers is putting it into their new Halloween tour at Warner Brothers Studios in Hollywood. And they're going to feature Pennywise and the Joker because they control DC Comics. So they don't want Universal to have it because they're going to use them for their own Halloween attraction, I guess. I'm not sure that's the brightest thing to do because in California, first of all, Universal's brand is worldwide. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Whether it's the premiere or not, some controversy. Hollow Scream is better. Even if it is, it's not that well known globally. And definitely one of the greatest and oldest and venerable is not Scary Farm in California. But again, not globally known. People, for the most part, you don't have massive groups coming from England and all over the world to go to Not Scary Farm in Buena Park, California. Sorry. It's an afterthought, if anything. They might go to see Horror Nights that are more likely Orlando. That seems to be the spot for worldwide tourism to come here. But it's a thing for people who grew up. I mean, there's like 4 generations of people who've gone to Not Scary Farm. They take their kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. Now all go to Not Scary Farm. So, if you're from the Southern California area, I mean, it's part of your heritage. It's like Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. And if you're not from Southern California, you have no idea what the fuck I just talked about. But if you are from Southern California, you say, yeah, Cal Worthington is what was it? Pussy Cow. No, it's not Pussy Cow. It's Go See Cow. But in the song, it always sounded like they were saying Pussy Cow. People from Southern California know what I just talked about. So, and said, because I had lots of family there, and so I've spent lots of summers there, vacation there, and so I know about that. And went to Universal and to Disney and places there, and Knott's. Although I was almost never there around Halloween because I was in school then, and they, go on holiday, you go when the school's out, which is usually summer, maybe around Christmas. So, I never got to see Horror Nights in Hollywood. By 1986 I was in college, but I never got to see Not Scary Farm, is what I'm saying, because it was whenever I was over there, because it was the wrong time, because that was going on since I was a little kid, and I'm old, early 70s. I think the first one was when I was 8 or 9 years old. Okay, I'll tell you that. That's how old Not Scary Farm is. So it's been going on for a while, and it may be better in some ways what they do there. But it doesn't have that worldwide global brand. It's pretty much California thing, and you know all about it if you're from there. See, that's what I'm trying to get at. So, this new Warner's studio tour, is it going to be that big? Or it'll be localized, And it might do better to let your character to Universal where more people will see it, and they'll pay you for it. But, greed. We want to use Pennywise for our shit, not yours. Yeah. Right. So that's just too bad. But maybe things will change. You never know. But we might have competing Chuckies then. Because I think MGM is owned by Warner Brothers. Didn't Turner buy it, and then Warner Brothers bought Turner and became Time Warner, and then now it's becoming AT&T because the Supreme Court's allowing it. Which means that Comcast probably won't be able to buy Fox out from under Disney after all, and Disney will get it. I don't know, but I don't really approve of these massive mergers. But at any rate. But then again, if that does happen, ultimately there'll only be one company, and then you can have anybody at Horror Nights because it'll all belong to one big company. There's a word for that. what's that? Totalitarianism. You know, where you have no choice and you have to obey the court. You know, capitalist monster controlling the universe. Fascism is what it is. It's government and capitalism are intertwined, as opposed to the government owns everything. That's socialism or communism. These are economic things. People don't realize fascism is an economic system, not a political system. Not entirely, but anyway, getting away from that. So it's possible then that they might have their Chucky there, and Universal has our Chucky, and so we'll have competing Chucky, which is, but let's put that aside. So that's the first one, Revenge of Chucky. It's what it's going to be called, not based on any particular film, but probably all of them, or at least have incorporate elements of it. And from what I understand, it's going to be a lot like the house they had in 2009, where he's got a bunch of other killer toys with him, like from the toy factory. So we might see the Green Army Men, and that would be fun, poking the ribs to Disney's new Pixar Toy Story Land they just opened, because you might have something similar like the Green Army Men or the various dolls that you had in toys that were in the house back in 2009. Not to mention the Dollhouse of the Damned type thing, or they could have entirely new creepy toys mixed up with Chucky. God knows there's all sorts of demented playthings that could be involved. So that's that one. The other scare zone is a big IP, and this is something Mike Coelho has been wanting to do at Horror Nights for years. He's talked about it, never thought he'd ever even get it approved, because it's outlandish. It's a campy cult classic that's not that big of a brand, but it's coming. But then again, people are rediscovering it, and it's a movie came out in the late was it 86, 87, somewhere around 88 maybe. And it's an outlandish, silly movie. It's silly. It's not, you know, it's a horror comedy, but it's really gruesome and creepy at the same time. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And you might wonder, Jimmy didn't show us his t-shirt last video. That's because I was waiting for this. Here it is. A Killer Klowns t-shirt, which I just got from Fright Rags. Highly recommend Fright Rags. They have amazing shirts. I just got that to celebrate the announcement of this very scare zone. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. They got some wonderful designs for Killer Klowns. There was one I really liked, but they only had it in like small and medium for some. They sold out the bigger sizes. And I am not a skinny boy anymore. I'm a big fat guy. So I got to wear the big shirt. So, oh well. So Killer Klowns will be coming as a scare zone. Now, not a house, a scare zone. And rumor puts it on South Street, which is over by the Transformers and the Lagoon, along the southern side of New York, you know, running along past the Film Vault and over towards Starbucks and the New York waterfront area. How far it'll extend? Will it come down past Battery Park toward Mills Drive-In? I don't know. I would have preferred to put it right in the middle of the park where, you know, the stage was last year. Maybe build a tent or something, a structure, because there's a big tent that's actually a spaceship. And these aliens that look like clowns come to do all sorts of nasty things on Earth. And see the movie. I can't even begin to describe it. There's all kinds of incredible, surreal shit. There's, you know, killer popcorn. There's candy floss or candy, cotton candy that becomes a cocoon that wraps up people to eat them and dissolve them. There's clown toys and, you know, like squirt guns and, you know, the flowers that squirt acid or something like that. There's all the little things that toys and weapons, fake things that clowns use become deadly. They throw pies at you and you dissolve. And the best scene in the movie, one of my favorite scenes, is the clown is doing shadow puppets on the wall, and the people are, ooh, ooh. Then he does one that looks just like a Tyrannosaurus, you know, and then the Tyrannosaurus's eyes glow red, and the shadow reaches over and eats the people, comes to life and eats them. I don't know how I don't think they can do that in a scare zone. I don't even know how they could do that in a haunted house, mind you, but it's pretty freaking amazing. Love the movie. It's just wonderful. Aiello's loved the movie, obviously, and he's been wanting to do it. They got it at last, so they're doing it as a scare zone, although I still think it'd be better as a house. Maybe if it's really, really popular, it can make the leap from zone to house and be done right and spectacularly in the future, which is what I've heard is happening with Trick or Treat from the scare zone last year, which is pretty good, to the house, which I understand is supposed to be quite amazing. I hope. Because, of course, they're not going to say, our house is going to suck this year. No, they're going to hype it. So, of course, they're going to tell you how amazing it is. But then you have to wait and see it to know for sure, right? But I have faith. Because I support England, and I support Orlando City, so I'm obviously a person who has wild expectations. Oh. But England might just, football may come home. It may come home. It may. Oh. Getting back to what I was saying previously. Stop that. Those are the 2 scare zones that were announced week before last. So I'm very excited about it, and again, not sure where they're going to be, but that's what people have been saying. Apparently there won't be anything, if what I'm hearing is true from people with their rumors, if they really know something or not. But apparently they're not going to use the Fisherman's Wharf, San Francisco area, and I can understand it's been getting more and more cramped and hard to get through there when there's a zone, and when it's really, really, really crowded, all the scaregoers just sort of stand there and go, boo, I'm scaring you. Because they aren't able to do much neat stuff or business if it was just, shoulder to shoulder people going through that. And especially now that Fast and Furious is actually open and people have to go in and out of that. So they'll probably have that open during the event. It's a new attraction, people are going to want to do it. So, it blocks it all off. They don't want to block off their new attraction, so probably it makes sense to leave that clear so people can go in to Hello, Lenny. Go into Fast and Furious and come out again, and makes sense then. But I expect, although this has not been confirmed, but I would be shocked if it were otherwise, that in addition to these 5 scare zones, there's probably gonna be something else running around the streets. But who or what? And will there be chainsaws? I would hope so. Could we possibly get the rat lady back again? I don't know. But I'm sure there'll be some other fun and games happening in the streets. Definitely games. They always have games. The carnival. But some kind of stuff happening in the streets. Some other kind of business. Some sort of hordes or something of some sort going on. I expect, but I don't know. That's a cat. Yes, you're Lenny. Oh, you're a little pretty cat. You're a little pretty baby cat. All right. So, now, before I close this video off, I do want to throw in a little bit about Hollywood, because John Murdy hasn't revealed much yet, but he has been telling us recently that he's been working on the Terror Tram, and he has at least confirmed that this year the Terror Tram will be original, an original concept and not based on an IP. And the Terror Tram is apparently going to be in rhyme. He said he was working on the treatment, he was writing the treatment in rhyme, writing the script in rhyme, and that rhyming has a lot to do. What is it going to be, a Dr. Seuss Terror Tram? That's an IP, Jimmy. No, it's not. Okay, you're right, can't be. What is it going, why rhyme? It's some sort of strange, creepy nursery poem? Or maybe it's an urban rap Terror Tram. Yeah, like Grave Diggers, or, what was the other horror rap from the... Showing my age, of course, I immediately think of something from the 80s, not something current, because I don't even know who's performing now. I'm old. But hey, back in the day, I remember, you know, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and all of that. But the first one I thought horror rap, Gravediggers, came right up in my mind. So, because there is such a thing, a more darker, sinister. Could they have that kind of a more sinister rap or hip hop, voodoo maybe, or something scary? You know, there've been a lot of, you know, African American horror movies over the years, especially in the 70s. Some are classics. Some are like Ganja and Hess, or what's the other one? Sugar Hill. And that was actually the name of a hip hop group, but there was a movie called that that's quite good too. It's about voodoo. So there's some really interesting stuff they could tap into, and maybe not. You know, it's not an IP, but they could tap into the idea. I have no fucking idea. I don't know what Murdy's doing. And that's just me going off in my imagination. What rhymes? So the first thing comes to mind is, you know, Edgar Allan Poe, Dr. Seuss, hip hop. Edgar Allan Poe was a rap. You know, it's like, while I pondered, nearly napping, suddenly there came a rapping at my door. It was a bird. He had the word, nevermore, bitches. If Edgar Allan Poe had been a rap star, no. Bad, Jimmy. Bad. That's almost racist. Oh dear God. So you never know what it could be. But something that rhymes. You know? So, a mystery to ponder. Murdy is so carny. Never know what he's thinking. So that brings us then to the end of this one, just over a half hour, the Scare Zones. Next one might be a bit longer because I have to cover a whole event. Because last week, just a couple of days ago in fact, there was a huge reveal for Halloween Horror Nights in Singapore.